Hello, my art-loving friends. I did a video recently where I compared Sennelier professional line to their student line, and it was really fun. But that video was 40 minutes long, and I had a lot of fun footage where I was setting up new palettes and doing all kinds of fun stuff that I want to share with you still, so that's what today's video is all about. Alright, let's just jump into that footage, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Here we go. One of the first things that I didn't show on that video was the swatching of this Sennelier Aqua mini set. It is so cute. This is professional grade paint, basically half pans but in a very cheap plastic case, and honestly a palette that's not that useful. So what I do cut out in this part of the video I'm showing right here the first time is I wet from basically halfway down the black line and below, and I do the black line to test transparency, and then I put as much of a mass tone as I can up at the top where there is no water, and then let it flow into the water. I do that for a couple of reasons: to see if the paint flows in water, and then to get a nice gradient. This one you're seeing here is the primary yellow. It's a PY74 semi-transparent with a light fast rating of 3 out of 3. So all the light fast ratings I'll be saying from now on are out of 3 stars. And then after I put the swatch down, I put a little bit of salt up the right side. The next one up here is the French Vermilion. It's a PR242. They consider this one opaque with a light fast rating of 3. And in this one, you can see the spread in the water. Isn't that beautiful? The way it just flows down into the water all by itself. On most of these swatches that I'm doing for my watercolor project, I do 2 coats of paint. I just want to make sure that I have a proper rendering of the color and I know exactly what I'm looking at when I look at it later. This next one coming up is the Sennelier Blue, PB15:3 and a PW4. So it does have a little bit of white in it, and they're considering this one opaque. The black line does not really get covered up though by a whole lot of pigment, so I find that interesting. There's a little bit, but not very much, and it has a 3-star light fast rating. It's a beautiful blue. I absolutely love it. Next up we have French Ultramarine Blue, and I'm looking at the dried swatch now, and this is a beautiful hue of blue. You guys, it's gorgeous. It's a PB29 mixed with a PV15, so a little bit of blue, a little bit of violet. They're considering this one transparent, and I agree, and it has a 3-star light fast rating. And I pause here because there is a little bit of flow in the water, which is always fun to watch. Next, we're moving into a very bright green, but it's not as yellow tinted as some of the other bright greens. This is Phthalo Green Light. It's a PG7 mixed with a PY153. They consider it transparent with a 3-star light fast rating. What do you guys see yourselves using this green for? I am curious. Let me know in the comments below. We are going to follow this one up with the Sap Green. It's a PB29 mixed with a PY153. A very nice earthy green. It's quite appealing actually. Semi-transparent with a 3-star light fast rating. Next up, we are working with the Burnt Umber, and this is where we get into the first of the dark colors in Sennelier that are a little bit disappointing. It is a PBR7 transparent with 3-star light fast rating. If you missed that other video, it is 40 minutes long, but it might be worth watching because it showcases all of the paint, student grade and professional grade, that I have in Sennelier's brand. But you can see I'm really having to dip the brush into the pan a lot, trying to get some kind of deep brown, and for a burnt umber, that's as deep brown as I felt I could get, or at least as deep brown as I felt was realistic. If I were to use this in an everyday painting, I wouldn't want to dig into the pan more than that, that's for sure. Now this next one wasn't quite as disappointing. This was Payne's Gray. It's a PV19, a PB15:1, and a PBK7, and you can see I got a pretty nice mass tone there. Tiny bit of flow in water, and the studio light's glaring out a little bit, so apologies for that, but you can see when I go to put the second coat on, I do get it pretty dark, and I think it's mostly satisfying. Now that concludes everything that came in the Aqua mini set, and then I move over to my professional set that I have in full pans, and we get into swatching those. Now this is from my main palette that I've already created. I've shown it on my channel a few times in the past. I'll try and find those videos and link them in the description box below for you. The camera will focus, there you go, and just stuck there. Burnt Sienna, this is a PBR7, and you can see that first coat is really disappointing, and I accidentally forgot to water the bottom half like I usually do, so I had to do that real quick. So then with the paint slightly activated, I pull the brush through it again, playing with the camera focus there. Sorry about that, I do figure that out here in the future, and finally get a bit of a mass tone on there, and it's actually not that disappointing of a mass tone, and I do have some faith. I figure out the camera focus. Just hang in there with me. What do you guys think of that burnt sienna? Do you like it? Is your favorite a PBR7 or a PR101? I know I've asked you guys in the past, but feel free to comment again. New video, new comments, new people reading it. You never know what we might come up with. Now next up is the warm sepia. Now if you want a good dark from Sennelier, choose this one. It is absolutely gorgeous. The brown, oh, I can't even describe it. Can you guys see it? How beautiful this brown is? It's a PBR7 mixed with a PBK7. I really, really, really like this brown. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. And as pretty as you're seeing it on screen, it pretty much looks exactly like that in person. It's just gorgeous. Following that gorgeous color is the Phthalo Blue. It's our typical PB15:3. Now this one had no trouble being bright and vibrant right from the very beginning. And not to be outdone is the Ultramarine Deep, our typical PB29. But this ultramarine, if you guys want a deep, dark, beautiful ultramarine, this is it. I will be pulling out all of my swatches eventually and comparing them to each other, so brand by brand comparison, because it will be fun for you guys to see the differences in PB29s, for example. Anyway, this is a beautiful example of a PB29. And it's not overly granulating either. This next one is the Forest Green. It's a PBK7, a PG7, and a PY42. And I love this color. When I first got this whole set and set it up and played with the colors, I'm like, I need to do an entire painting with just this one color. It is that pretty. This one is the Sennelier Red. It's a PR254, and I have found, in my experience, I really like PR254s. Just, they're pure red. Like if you're going for a red, get a PR254. They're just nice. If you would like a slightly cooler red, however, then go with this Sennelier Bright Red. Now this is not rated, so there's no pigment information, at least currently, or as of the time I have this pan. But beautiful red, has a slight purple tint, at least it does if you compare it to the Sennelier Red that I just swatched before that. It's a little bit rosier, I guess you could say. All right, everyone, put your sunglasses on for this next one. This is the Opera Rose. It is made with fluorescent dye and PR81:1. Now, surprisingly, I've done my own light fast testing on this one, and it has not faded. So I will link my light fast test results in the corner and in the description box below. I think we even have a 2-year update on this one, if I'm not mistaken. Now, just to be clear, 2 years is not 50 years. 2 years is not 100 years. But this is in direct sunlight for hours and hours and hours a day, so I'm pretty impressed. We are going to follow this one up with the Sennelier Yellow Light. It's a PY153, and all I have for light fast rating on this one is light fast 1. So it's a slightly different light fast rating than the 3-star system. So I don't know. I don't know why they changed the light fast ratings, or it's a 1 out of 3, but I don't think that's the case. We're gonna wait a minute for this next one to focus, but this is cadmium yellow light. It's a PY35. There's just something really pleasing about cadmium yellows. They just seem more pure, more dense. I don't know. Do you guys know what I mean? Next up we have the lemon yellow. It's a PY3. Now I usually love lemon yellows, but I noticed when I painted with this in that painting, I didn't reach for it very often because the first few times I did reach for it, I realized how opaque it was. And some lemon yellows aren't quite this opaque, and some are, I get that, but this one is particularly opaque, and it really does show in your paintings, and especially if you mix it with other colors. So I wouldn't necessarily want to use this one for a lot of mixing with other colors. It's got too much in it. I know it's a single pigment color, but it's just too opaque. Oh, look at that horrible focusing. I am so sorry about that. That concludes the swatching, but now we get to the fun part of altering palettes and putting colors in palettes. Oh, it's just so much fun to make palettes of watercolor. Don't you agree? Well, let's finish this palette, which seems kind of sad to tear apart this student grade palette here and not use this, which worked great by the way. But I want to incorporate those colors. Okay, so orange being one of them. And actually I will be glad to have this orange because when I was trying to mix an orange, it stayed very red. So I had to be really aware of how much red and yellow I was using. All right, I have a bunch of full pans here because I want these in full pans like you see I did here and here and here and here. So we have to get them out of there. That could be interesting now that I've used water on all of them pretty thoroughly. Well, that's still very soft from painting with it. Anyway, now that I've used water on them all thoroughly, they are nice and stuck in their pans, unlike before. May have to let that dry more. Last night I just pounded it and it fell out, but it is quite stuck right now. So wet. Darn it. I really want to finish this right now. Cobalt violet hue. That one was a fun one to have in here. Cobalt blue, the deep green, which is our phthalo green mixed with phthalo blue. I wanted this ultramarine because it's different than this one. The white and the yellow ochre. That leaves 7 of the student grade ones left, and I could just keep them with my Sennelier paints as backups, but the darks are really frustrating. I was thinking we could put them in here and do a little giveaway, but would anyone want these? Because this is definitely not going to be a split primary palette unless you pretend the browns are reds, question mark. And you get one blue, a primary blue, which is a phthalo blue. I don't know. What should we do with the leftovers over here? The yellows are fine to use, so they could be a backup. The phthalo blue is fine to use. All of them are fine to use except these 3 darks are a little frustrating. So you guys tell me, what should we do with these leftover paints? I'm going to keep the palette, hopefully create a new unique palette for some other brand of paint at some point. All right, let's see if any of these will come out. The white. So all I've been doing with these half pans, and I think I put my water away already, need to go get some, is to wet, I have a really wet rag here, wet the bottom, the drop of water would be better, and then just stick them in here. And before I put them in the palette, I need to label them. So I will do that off screen and I'll just show you the end because this is gonna be probably long and boring. Real quick, here's the before picture on the palette, before, and I'll stick the after over here on the right. Here is the after of the palette, all nice and full, and the before picture on the swatch sheet. Here's the after of the swatch sheet, beautifully filled out. Well, my Sennelier palette looks way different than it did before. Here's our paintings. They're both pretty in their own way. That was fun. One more thing on this palette is that I will have to wait for my light fast testing to come out of the window over time, because there are, I think, at least 2 colors in here from the student line that had light fast ratings that were not rated, or NR. So I assume that means not rated. Plus this opera is not rated, although that one has been in the window a long time and it's doing really well, so I feel comfortable using it. So yes, it'll be fun to see how primary red and orange, those are not rated. Let's see what else. Yep, so the orange, the primary red, the bright red, which has already been, actually that one has been in the window, but not as long as the others. So that one was already from a previous test. Yep, just those. Okay, so just be aware of those. I did put these in here knowing the light fast rating could be iffy, but we'll find out. And I really love how this looks and feels, and it makes me very happy. These are some other swatch sheets from other palettes, because I need to laminate all these. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great weekend if you are watching this on the day it's released, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Hello, my art-loving friends. In a video I did recently where I compared... Hello, my art-loving friends. I did a video recently where I compared... Did I say recently right? I don't think so. Or weird, strangely. Hello, my art-loving... Hang on. So helpful.